Let's go over a couple of different tips for working with timelines. Like with most applications, the timeline's where you are going to build the sequence for whatever project that you're working on. Most of them interact pretty much the same way, but if you're working with bigger projects that you have multiple different timelines to build your project, there are a couple of things that don't really offer themselves up very simply by just looking at DaVinci Resolve. So I wanted to go over a couple of those. So jumping over into the program here, what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to bring in some of the stock that I shot, I believe it was last year, and we're just going to be using that for this media here. One thing that I did want to show you is that when you're bringing media in, you can obviously bring it on the media tab. Now that it's changed with DaVinci Resolve 15, I just bring it in on the edit page most of the time, unless you're doing like a copy from a SD card. That's a completely different way that you would go about doing that. But I have the media on my computer, so all I'm going to do is just bring the media folder over here. If I bring the media folder in here, all we're gonna get is just the files themselves, right? But if I didn't do that, and I took the media file and I brought it over here, what's going to happen is that media file is now going to create a bin, and it's going to have the folder structure of everything that it's in that folder, which makes it really nice. So in this media folder, I have the A7S II, because I always break it down into different cameras. So now I have all of this footage. One cool thing that you can do is if you have, let's say you're working on a show and you have your days put into different folders, you would be able to click on the bin itself, right click, and then you could create a timeline with everything that's in that bin. So we'll do that here. What would normally happen in a situation like this is, let's say you're going to be reviewing all of your footage. You would just go through and review it. Some people might delete stuff, some people might start cutting it up. What I tend to do on large projects is I will go through and say, okay, this particular shot here I want to use, right? So then I would start coloring them. And that's another thing that you can do, is you can set up how your colors work. The other thing that you can do is, let's say you just right click and you can go into color. But that obviously clicking and just adds a lot more time. So I would look into adding the different colors as shortcut keys. And then you would, it's whatever you want it to be. You could have one color mean, okay, this is going to be for this sequence, this is going to be just all B-roll or whatever it may be, or maybe this is a, must use, this is a possibly could use, this is like a do not use sort of thing, whatever it may be. So let's say now I have all of my shots here, right? And I would come up to my master, and let's say I wanted to create another folder or another timeline. So I could create another timeline here, right? But now if I have this timeline open, I don't see the previous timeline. So one cool thing that you can do is if you click right here, you're going to get all of the settings for how the timeline is displayed. And one of them that isn't selected is the stacked timelines, and it just makes tabs. So now if I come back over here where this other timeline is and I double click on it, it'll be right here. So now I can like switch these around, and I can have multiple timelines here that I can just jump back and forth. But with a lot of other applications that I personally came from, what I would end up doing is I would have the timeline above each other. And to do that, you would click over here, you'd click this little button here, and then you'll have your other timeline down here. So now if I wanted to add the timeline down here, all I would do is just close it here, come down here and select timeline 2. Now I have timeline 2 down here, timeline 1 up here. I want to copy this over, so I just drag it down, copy this one over, drag it down, take this one, drag it down as well. Now I have two different timelines that I can, I can see this what is in one and bring it over to the other timeline if you're going to, because what ends up happening a lot of times, at least for projects that I worked on, is we left a timeline for a whole card and we didn't touch it. We might add edits to it, add marks and then put in comments and stuff like that, but we would always leave the timelines as is in case we ever needed to go back and say, oh, I wanted to see like you know, one take before the one that we used instead. So it would be really easy to just go back and you know, see that. One thing that you'll notice here is it's very hard to see anything. One, I don't even see anything in the waveforms. Now I might have really low audio, but I don't see anything. So we just come over here and clicking this, you know, show the little bar here so that I can't actually see it. So if I just move these up, actually none of these even have audio. I don't think the camera had audio that day. But if you don't see audio down there, you could come in here and then enable this, and then it'll show the waveform. The other thing that I like to do personally is I don't need to see the little thumbnails here, so I just click this button here and it just shrinks everything down, and you can change the height of your different tracks, but I just shrink everything down. Sometimes I open the audio, and so I'll have the video as a small little piece, but then I'll have the audio there if I'm cutting to audio. So that's one thing that I do. So now there are a couple of other ways to make timelines. One of the ways that we could do that is if we were to take something that's here, we could right click and we could turn it into three different there's three different clips here. We have compound, and all that's doing is just taking a set of clips and it's going to be presented as one clip. We have fusion clip, which does the same thing, but it's a little bit different, and I'll explain that. And then we have VFX connect clip. And with the old DaVinci Resolves, used to have like a fusion connect clip, I believe it was called, and that was to take a file from DaVinci Resolve, go over into Fusion, and then you would be able to have that round trip and come back in. The VFX connect clip is that same thing for the standalone Fusion. Now that we have Fusion in here, we also have the Fusion connect clip. So let's take these two clips here. Let's actually close this so it makes it a little easier to see. So we're going to take these two clips here, right? And now if we watch this, it goes from the one shot, right, to this other shot. If we would highlight both of them and turn it into a compound clip, now we have this clip and it's going to have that same cut. The difference between a compound clip and a connect clip is primarily one thing here. Is when we come over into Fusion now, what we're going to see is we're going to see one media in. And if you look over here, we have no layers. Okay, if I was to come back, we'll undo that and we'll turn this into a Fusion clip. And we go into Fusion now. Now we're going to have two medias, right? And if we click on one of them, now we have layer 0 and layer 1. So what is this layer 0 and what is the layer 1? If you're clicking on, it doesn't matter if it's a compound clip or a fusion clip, you can click on it, right click, open in timeline. And what that's going to do is it's going to show you everything that's inside that new clip that you created. This works the same way with a compound clip, but they're just, you know, in Fusion, they're a little bit different how they work. But so here we have the two clips in a Fusion clip. If I did this with a compound clip, it would look the same way. It's its own like little timeline within a timeline. But the Fusion clip, like I said, you can come over here. And if we were to watch a whole clip, you're going to see everything that particular clip had. If we come over to the if we come over here, we can see that our one Fusion clip is longer than the other Fusion clip, and that's just because you know, one was shorter than the other. So this whole layer thing here, everything starts with the number 0. 0 is, I guess you could say 1, and 1 is 2. So everything starts at 0, and then we have 1. And how that works is in the Fusion clip itself. So our video track 1 will be 0, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So if we were to, let's go back over here. So we're looking at this. If we were to be over here and I wanted to recreate this, right? So let's say we accidentally deleted one of them, right? We could just go media in, right? And now we have to determine which of those media files that we want. We could come over here and we could say, okay, we want it to be layer 1 or layer 0. And then we could connect that up and then we would have whatever that shot is. So that's pretty much the difference between those two. And then we also have another thing that we can do. Let's come down to here. We'll double click on this. We'll just bring this over and we'll just use this one, right? And we'll look at the other one. So currently we have this one open, right? And if we come over to here, we can take this clip, we can right click on it, and we can say compare with current. So the current is we're timeline 1 and we want to compare this timeline to that timeline. So this would be used if you have like a lot of multiple versions of a project. Let's say you have a sequence and you had to cut it up a couple of different ways. You would then be able to determine what are the differences between these, or maybe multiple people are working on a project. You want to see, okay, what did this person actually do? So we can click on here and then we can compare, and this little thing will pop up. It's kind of difficult to see because I have 2 monitors, so it stretches it, but it will show you everything that is the same and different here. I'm going to do something that will make this a little easier to make sense here. So all I'm going to do is actually, let's close that. Let's come down here, bring it down here, and I'm just going to take all of this and just copy it in here so I can show you this. So now we will close that one, and for this one maybe we'll make this a little shorter, bring this in, we'll delete a couple of these, and then we'll stack this one in here, we'll close that gap. So now we have a pretty big difference between them. Come into here, compare the two, then we zoom this out, and here we can see, okay, from here to here, these two are the same, but this other one that we're comparing with has a couple of shots that aren't the same. And then here and here, these are the same files, but they're shrunk down. So it'll give you an idea of, you know, let's say you're working on 2 projects. Like I said, they're cut up, so you can see those differences where they are, and you would then be able to determine, oh, you know what, that cut I actually do like, or this cut I don't like. You can also move these playheads around, and depending on which one you're moving, you'd be able to see, okay, let's see how this plays out compared to how this one plays out. So that's one of the other features that a lot of people, I don't think, know about really right now. The other thing that I did miss about Fusion clips. So one of the things that I always tell people is when people are using a lot of the templates that I have, and if it's a template that's just in Fusion, what I tell people to do is make it into a Fusion clip. And the primary reason, even though it's a single clip most of the times, sometimes it's 2 clips, is if I take this shot here, and let's say I take a little bit off of each side, right? And now I take this clip and I would look at it, right, without making it a Fusion clip. What you'll see here is our in point is 266 and our out is, you know, over here. The reason why I always tell people to do a Fusion clip is because that Fusion clip will have parameters of its own. It's not saying, okay, our in is, comes in a little bit. Let me show you. So if I would just turn this into a Fusion clip now, and I come back over into Fusion, looking at the same thing, now we start at 0. That is the primary reason why I have people do that, because in Fusion, everything, its time is based off of frames. It's not based off of time code. It's based off of specifically frames. So if I say, this keyframe at frame 50, but I don't turn it into a Fusion clip, frame 50 is going to be outside of the boundaries of that cut. So I come here, I want to put it at frame 50. So if I take this to frame 50, I'm outside the boundaries of this shot, so you'll never see it on the edit page. So that's one of the primary things. The other thing is if you bring footage or pictures in, primarily, if you bring pictures in and footage as well, and you have it sitting on the timeline and you look at it in Fusion, here, let me just, it's easier if I just show you this. So if I take this shot, I bring this shot over here and we look at it, we see this resolution is substantially bigger than my project. My project's resolution right now is substantially less. So if I bring this over here and then I go into Fusion, what you're gonna see is that this media, if you look down here, or even the little pop-up that comes up, the size of it is really large, right? It's not anything like our project. So if I was to take these two shots, let's make them the same length, right? And I turn them into a Fusion clip. Now, when I come over into Fusion, what you're going to notice is now for this shot, so that's the one that was underneath, then we have this one because we're on layer 1. This shot now is the 1920 by 1080, our project frame rate, right? So if I was to take this and do a transform and zoom in, we're just going to start to have distortion because it's transforming a 1920 1080 shot, right? As opposed to if I don't do it this way, but I want that high resolution because I'm trying to get a little piece of it. What I could do instead is, instead of adding it on here, I could just work with this shot, go over into Fusion, then go into my media pool, bring this shot in now, and this shot will still be its native resolution. So I'll be able to work with that shot over the other one. So if we now bring them over top, I can take this one, get my transform, and I can zoom in and I'll still have that really high resolution to composite into whatever else that I'm working at and using the native resolution of the other. Now, if the resolution isn't a big thing, you could make it into a Fusion clip, and then those resolution amounts will get copied over to the new Fusion clip. So then everything will be treated as whatever your timeline is instead of whatever the media itself is. So if you're working with really high, so let's say your project is 1080 and you want to composite in a 4K shot, I would do it by adding that 4K shot into Fusion and compositing it into the 1080 background or whatever it may be, your higher resolution. Instead of making a Fusion clip where it's going to lose that resolution, I would have it go over into actual Fusion. So that's kind of all I have for you for today. I know a lot of the features that I went over, it's kind of the same thing in other programs. They're just found or used in a different manner with DaVinci Resolve. So I just wanted to shine some light on a couple of those features. I know some people might not actually use them because those workflows are normally for like really big projects with lots and lots of media, but hey, you never know when you might need to use it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this one. If you have any other ideas or suggestions, leave them down there as well. Again, my name's JR, and thanks for watching.